Chapter 1. Reincarnated as a snake. In a wet jungle, a 20 cm long gray snake stared at a black-spotted frog not far from it. The snake was hidden between a cluster of dead leaves. The color of its body made it almost integrated with the surrounding environment. The nail-sized black-spotted frog, although vigilantly shifting its eyes, did not find the existence of the small snake. Target: black-spotted frog, amphibious, can provide 1 bioenergy point. A mechanical voice rang in Fang Yun's mind, telling him the basic information of the creature in front of him. 1 bioenergy point? Not bad. Fang Yun flicked his tongue slightly, staring at the black frog, looking for an opportunity. As time passed, the frog eventually dropped its guard. Fang Yun's muscles instantly tightened, attacking the frog with lightning-like speed. His mouth opened, biting the black-spotted frog, not letting it go even as it struggled. Finally, after a minute of trashing, the frog stopped moving. Only then did he release his fangs. As the frog fell into his mouth, he slowly swallowed it, causing a small bulge to raise in his stomach. At the same time, his stomach began to secrete a large amount of strong acidic gastric juice, digesting the black-spotted frog that he had just swallowed in a short time. Having finished his meal, Fang Yun rushed towards the pile of rocks on his left, slithering into them. Inside the rock pile was a huge abandoned ant mound. There are no ants left, allowing it to become a temporary hiding place for Fang Yun. He laid down in the nest as he quietly digested the black-spotted frog in his stomach. Snakes are very slow to digest, especially snakes that are still in their adolescent stage. However, because of the particularity of Fang Yun himself, in less than an hour, he completely digested the frog. Ring. The host has successfully gained 1 bioenergy. The previous mechanical voice once again sounded in Fang Yun's mind. Hearing this voice, Fang Yun, who had been resting his eyes, opened them to look at the panel in front of himself. Letting out a sigh of relief, Fang Yun said in his mind, "System, open my information panel." A curtain of light appeared in front of him, and on this light curtain was a line of text. Host: Fang Yun. Race: gray snake, variant species. Status: juvenile period. World: blue planet, Earth-like planet. Main task: the host taking the role, gray snake, must get 10 million reputation points in the world, blue planet. Mission period: a gray snake life cycle, 10 years. Task tip: the host can hunt prey, gain bioenergy and evolve himself, improving his power and ability to gain the required reputation value in the world, blue star. If the host does not gain sufficient reputation point before the character, gray snake, naturally or accidentally dies, the system will determine that the task has failed and will execute the penalty of completely killing the host, body and soul. Host property list, not expanded. After browsing the text on the information panel, Fang Yun couldn't help but sigh. It has been 10 days since he came to this world, but he still has an unreal feeling, and in his heart, he is always hoping that this is just a dream and that he will eventually wake up. But every time he looked at the system panel in his mind, he has to recognize the reality. He really did cross over to another world, and most importantly he reincarnated as a snake. Fang Yun, 18 years old, a high school student without any defining characteristic and no bad habits, an average high school student. That's why he doesn't know why this happened to him, why this system chose him. 10 days ago he set off from home, as usual, going to school to attend classes. Unexpectedly, this system appears halfway to school, killing him and taking him directly to this Earth-like planet. On the first day of crossing into this world, Fang Yun's mind was filled with boundless fear and despair. Unlike the excitement of those who cross to new worlds in online novels, he was particularly depressed. After all, crossing means that he can no longer meet his parents, relatives, and friends, surviving alone in this world. Without even mentioning the fact, of all the things that he can reincarnate into, he reincarnated as a snake. In such a state of panic, Fang Yun kept praying in his heart, hoping that God would send him back again. But what he prayed for was not realized. In the end, he could only accept his reality with helplessness, planning on how he could complete the system's main task. Not to mention that this bastard of a system that brought him to this place said that if he died, he would die completely, both body and soul, with no chance of ever reincarnating. Life is better than death. Even if he became a snake, Fang Yun did not want to die so easily. He wants to try to complete the system task. Maybe then he would have a chance to go home in the future. Fang Yun's emotions are very complicated in regards to this system in his mind. On the one hand, this system is the culprit, killing him and then taking him to this broken place, but on the other, he has to rely on this system to survive. This system is called the Universe Adventurer System. As its name implies, it is a system that can take Fang Yun on an adventure throughout the universe. But looking at the information on the system panel, if he wants to survive and possibly go back home, he has to complete the task assigned to him by the system, to earn 10 million reputation points in this world. These so-called reputation points, according to the interpretation of the system, is his fame in this world. The louder his name in the world, the higher his reputation value will be. However, Fang Yun is still an ordinary snake, not to mention earning reputation value. Even if it's simply surviving, it is still very difficult. If I want to complete this task just relying on myself, I don't know when it will be completed. Fortunately, this system provides me with some convenience. In the current world, Fang Yun can gain bioenergy by consuming various prey, and bioenergy allows him to evolve and grow up quickly. 5 days ago, Fang Yun experienced his first evolution, causing his physical attributes to increase linearly. Looking at the last word in the last line of the information panel, after the host attribute list, he said in his mind, "System, expand my properties panel." The next moment, the curtain of light in his mind flickered, and the text refreshed. Host property list. Level 2. Bioenergy, October 15th. Once bioenergy is full, the host can evolve. Skill points. 1. Rewarded by the system after the evolution, used to activate and upgrade skills. Body length, 20 centimeters. Diameter, 0.7 centimeters. Strength, 0.1. Defense, 0.05. Speed, 0.2. Agility, 0.2. Spirit, 1.2. Physical strength, 0.5. Skill, none. Reputation value, 0/100000000. You don't have any sort of fame in this world. Seeing that he only needs 5 bioenergy points to upgrade, Fang Yun couldn't help but cheer up. Once he evolves again, his body properties will certainly increase. In this way, his ability to live in this world will become more solid. Feeling more secure, Fang Yun is no longer anxious or trying to complete the system main task, but strives to let himself evolve. His current place is in a jungle that is inaccessible, or at least in the 10 days after Fang Yun's rebirth, he did not find any signs of humans. In such a jungle, there is certainly no shortage of animals. Fortunately, in the area around his nest, Fang Yun hadn't found any carnivorous beasts yet, but this does not mean that he can take the situation lightly. Because he is too small now. With his current size, even many of the small rodents and animals are his natural enemies: mice, lizards, owls. While going out to hunt, he will likely encounter at least one of these natural enemies of his. Therefore, it is very important to strengthen himself as soon as possible to gain the ability to live in this jungle. Thinking of this, Fang Yun shifted around, wanting to hunt while it was still bright. Slithering forward, he leaves his den to see if he can find other prey. Chapter 2. Finding Prey. Looking out from the layers of leaves, the sun was setting the sky into a deep orange shade. Soon this jungle will usher in a new night. A snake's vision is quite poor, but because of Fang Yun's human soul, he mutated after hatching. Vision, hearing, etc. are similar to humans, and there is also a snake's unique sense of smell and thermal imaging organs. So at this time, he can clearly see the surrounding area without any sort of problem, the ground covered with fallen leaves, the messy grass and tall trees covering the clouds, at least from his perspective. As he observed the surrounding environment, he continuously flicked his tongue, collecting the chemical signals in the air to detect the presence of prey. It is a pity that he didn't find any sort of prey in this area. Fang Yun, disappointed, hanging his head and crawling even further ahead, started to feel somewhat uneasy. He's never roamed this far from his nest. He had gone much further than he expected, and if he encountered danger, he wouldn't be able to quickly escape back into the nest to take refuge. But the desire to eat and evolve forced him to continue to take risks. The black-spotted frog that he previously ate gave him a lot of energy, enough for him to spend 2 or 3 days without eating, but Fang Yun wanted to grow up as soon as possible, so he has to hunt more prey. After moving forward another 100 meters, Fang Yun changed direction and crawled towards the right. He can't risk continuing forward anymore. He is going to establish his hunting zone in this 300-meter radius. Rustle. Suddenly, Fang Yun felt the vibrations of an animal stepping on the ground. Although it was very subtle, snakes are particularly sensitive to vibrations, so the moment Fang Yun felt them, he immediately became alert. He hid his body in a lush bush nearby and peeked through the gap between the leaves, looking at the source of the vibrations. An adult pheasant dragging his long tail behind him as he slowly walked forward, his colorful plumage being particularly eye-catching. Pheasant, omnivore. For plants, they generally like to eat herbaceous plants, seeds, etc. As for meat, they like to eat insects, earthworms, and small amphibians. Fang Yun remembered the knowledge he learned in his last life. Fang Yun's current size is not much different from a large worm. If the pheasant finds me, I am afraid that I will be eaten as a snack. Thinking of this, he curled his body and then hid further into the bushes, trying to make himself look unremarkable, like a stone. The pheasant slowly walked over, his claws sweeping the ground from time to time, turning the fallen leaves on the ground, its sharp beak pecking between the fallen debris. Sometimes it picked up an acorn seed, sometimes it picked up a tender white worm. Fang Yun was very successful in hiding. This pheasant did not find his existence from beginning to end. About 3 minutes later, after the pheasant walked away, the huddled Fang Yun in the bushes slowly relaxed. Slithering out of the bushes, he flicked his tongue and continued to wander around. During his search for prey, Fang Yun also saw many other animals. For example, a creature similar to the black-spotted frog that he had eaten before. This time, the black-spotted frog he met was already an adult, which had great strength, and a body length about 4 or 5 centimeters, too big for him to hunt. If I want to prey on this frog, I am afraid that I have to wait until my next evolution. Sure. Fang Yun's tongue flicked in the air, then shrank it back into his mouth, placing it onto the olfactory receptors inside his mouth, analyzing the chemical signals collected. Suddenly, Fang Yun got excited. This time, he perceived the smell of prey. Fang Yun flicked his tongue in the air several times, determining the direction of the smell, then crawled over there. After moving for a few minutes, he stopped. At the moment, there is a group of dense black spots in front of him constantly moving, a group of ants who are returning to their nest. Under the observation of Fang Yun, almost every worker ant in this ant colony carries a small piece of food. This is not the thing of Fang Yun's focus though. The thing of his focus is a large ant cluster that is tightly tied together, dragging a worm about 5 centimeters long. Target locked, earthworm, insect, can provide 1 bioenergy point. The mechanical voice of the system sounded again in Fang Yun's mind, making him unhesitant in deciding to rob this ant group, directly crawling over, grabbing the worm with his mouth and taking it away. After dragging it a certain distance from the ant group, Fang Yun swallowed it into his stomach. As for the ants, Fang Yun did not care about them. He tried eating them before. The biological energy gained by eating ants is too little, and for a group like this with a large number of ants, if he gets swarmed by them, he may just capsize this already precarious ship. Being devoured alive by a group of ants doesn't sound like a good end, does it? After slithering forward for a distance of more than 10 meters, Fang Yun stopped crawling, then rolled a few times on the grass, removing the ants from his body. Counting this earthworm, I got a total of 2 bioenergy points. This harvest can only be considered a pass. I will go for another look around. If I don't find any other prey, I will go back to the nest. Fang Yun glanced at the sky. At this time, the light had begun to become dim. The sky will probably completely darken in another hour or so. Perhaps because of his past life, he does not like to hunt at night, without mentioning that there are also many dangers at night: owls, mice, and his peers. Therefore, after every hunting trip, Fang Yun will return to his nest to sleep, resting in the night. As the sky continued to darken, Fang Yun sighed helplessly, just as he was about to go back to his nest. Suddenly, his sensitive sense of smell caught a whiff of something special. He carefully screened the direction of the smell, then turning his head in that direction, without any hesitation, he crawled over. 2 minutes later, Fang Yun's body paused, lifting his head slightly towards the direction of a tree branch. Located above the tree branch, there is a bird nest perched there. When he saw the bird's nest, Fang Yun couldn't help but feel a touch of joy, because he smelled the eggs that came out of this bird's nest. The bird nest is only the size of a bowl. Apart from the eggs, there is no other creature. Obviously, the nest owner is looking for food right now. Fang Yun climbed the tree, getting into the nest. Immediately, he saw that in this nest, 4 eggs quietly laid there. Target locked, sparrow eggs, each providing 1 bioenergy point. Chapter 3 begins to evolve. Each egg can provide 1 bioenergy point. Doesn't that mean, as long as I swallow these 4 eggs, I will evolve? Hearing the system's prompt, Fang Yun's mood immediately brightened. These days, because of the pressure of survival, his emotions have always been in a state of depression, only now did he relax a bit. If he evolves again, his physical attributes will leap forward, which is more conducive to his survival in this jungle. Especially his body size. After the previous evolution, his length changed from 10 centimeters to 20 centimeters. After this evolution, his length, how much will it improve? 30 centimeters? Or is it longer? In any case, a larger size can make him look more threatening. If he is unlucky enough to encounter some kind of natural enemy, the larger his size is, the more dangerous he will seem to the other side, making them hesitate whether it's worth risking their lives to hunt him. While thinking about this, Fang Yun opened his mouth and swallowed all 4 sparrow eggs into his belly. The sparrow's nest suddenly became empty. Now that I think about it, I have just eaten the children of another living organism. Once the parents of these eggs come back, I wonder if they will cry in heartbreak. This sounds cruel, but Fang Yun didn't have any sort of guilt. After all, this is the law of the jungle: the strong eat the weak. Maybe he will be eaten as a snack by a bigger bird in the future, just like he ate the children of this bird. Without mentioning that in the past 10 days, he swallowed a lot of living things, so he doesn't have the sort of guilt and disgust as he did on the first day. Although he doesn't want to have that kind of cold and unfeeling heart, he is trying his best to adapt himself to this new environment. Everything is for my survival, thought Fang Yun. After swallowing these eggs, Fang Yun quickly climbed out of the bird's nest. If he stays any further, he risks being caught by the bird when it's back. Although the fighting power of sparrows isn't good, his current defense is not that high. After leaving the bird's nest, Fang Yun crawled back to his nest. At this moment, the sky was beginning to darken. The cold wind blew in the jungle, and a lot of fallen leaves were blown. A dry leaf fell on Fang Yun's body, almost scaring him to death. The current Fang Yun mind is particularly nervous, anything in this forest can scare him. He wants to return to his nest as soon as possible, but after eating the 4 eggs, his body has become very bloated, hence lowering his not-so-fast speed even further. On the road back, Fang Yun discovered a few cockroaches. Each cockroach can give him 0.5 bioenergy point, but now he is already struggling with his bloated body as he doesn't think that his stomach can fit any other thing, without mentioning that with his almost current turtle-like speed, he can hardly catch them. So after thinking about it, he eventually gave up the idea of preying on those few cockroaches. After 7 or 8 minutes of slow crawling, Fang Yun finally returned to his nest. The dark and narrow nest gave Fang Yun an unparalleled sense of security. He finally put down his hanging heart. As in the past, he hid his body in the deepest part of the nest, then quietly waited for the digestion of the earthworm and the 4 sparrow eggs in his stomach. This time, it took about 2 hours for the prey in his stomach to get digested. Ring, the host successfully gained 5 bioenergy point. The mechanical sound of the system sounded in Fang Yun's mind. He snapped him of his reverie, then his eyes immediately brightened, looking forward to the next prompt. Sure enough, the system did not let him wait at all, immediately sending him another prompt. Ring, detecting that the host has enough bioenergy, the host evolutionary conditions are reached. This evolution will take 10 minutes, the host should ensure the safety of the surrounding environment. Do you want to undergo this evolution? Hearing the last prompt of the system, without hesitation, he immediately said in his mind, "Evolve." The moment Fang Yun thought of evolving, a warm feeling filled his body, making him very comfortable. But as time passed, it was becoming hotter and hotter, eventually becoming boiling hot. His body getting hotter and hotter made Fang Yun very uncomfortable. He couldn't help but rub his body on the ground. The pain was becoming so intense that he began to scream. After 10 minutes of grueling pain, this evolution finally ended. It's finally over. Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief. His body seemed to have unloaded a heavy burden and became a lot lighter. Thinking back to that pain, he could not help but sigh at the difficulty of being a snake. It's difficult to hunt prey to get bioenergy, but when he finally gathered enough bioenergy to evolve, he experienced the pain of being burned by flames. If his will didn't become stronger than before, his consciousness would have been destroyed by this pain in the previous evolution. Slowly calming his mood down, he crawled around in the nest. He felt that his body seemed to have become more powerful, making him let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, he felt that he touched something with his tail, something very frail. With the last experience, Fang Yun immediately knew that what his tail has touched is the skin that he shed after this evolution. I was hatched for about 10 days, but I already shed twice. I'm probably the only being in nature who did this. Fang Yun thought, strangely proud. Shaking his head and throwing these weird thoughts out of his head, he called the system panel in his mind, ready to look at the changes this evolution brought. Ring, the host's second evolution was successful. The level is upgraded to level 3, rewarding 2 skill points. Detecting that the host has enough skill points, does the host want to see the available skill? Fang Yun just opened the system panel and these 2 messages popped up, surprising him. After reading the messages, he was immediately overjoyed. After his first evolution, he was particularly interested in skills. Seeing that this system is capable of traversing universes, he expected something like fireballs or wind blades. However, because his skill points are not enough, he couldn't see what skills he could learn, so he can only look at the skills column longingly. Unexpectedly, after this evolution, his skill points finally met the requirements. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun immediately said to the system his mind. Check the currently available skills. The light curtain in front of Fang Yun refreshed, showing him another text. The current skill points can be used to activate the following 2 skills. Discoloration Camouflage, active skill. Choosing this skill makes the host have the ability to change his color according to the surrounding environment, achieving the effect of camouflage. Each upgrade consumes 3 skill points, current level, 0/5. Fatal Venom, active skills. Choosing this skill, the host will grow a venom blader, enabling the host to use venom to kill opponents, thus increasing the host attack power. Each upgrade consumes 3 skill points, current level, 0/5. Looking at these 2 skills, Fang Yun was slightly stunned. These 2 skills are somewhat different from what he expected, only physical skills, which made him a little disappointed. But then, he cheered up again. Sighing secretly, he is too greedy. Although it's only a physical skill, these skills are definitely good for him now. After cheering up, he carefully read the detailed description of these 2 skills, deliberating about which skill to choose. To be honest, these 2 skills are exactly what he needs now. Camouflage will allow him to avoid natural enemies and increase his chances of successfully hunting prey. The venom can increase his attack power. However, his current skill points are simply not enough to learn 2 skills, he can only choose one. After thinking for a while, Fang Yun made up his mind. Activate the skill, Fatal Venom. This is not his hasty decision, but he feels that in the current situation, what he needs more is a type of attack skills. After all, to grow up as soon as possible, he must hunt more prey, and after getting the Fatal Venom skills, if he accidentally encounters his natural enemies in the future, he won't be so helpless. More importantly, the color of his scales already provides a certain camouflage. So he doesn't the camouflage skill for now. Immediately instructing the system in his mind, Fang Yun felt an itch in his mouth and neck. After a moment, the itching finally stopped. He felt that his fangs were somewhat different, as if hollow from the inside. Fang Yun opened his mouth. He had a feeling that he could release the venom from his fangs as long as he thought about it. Of course, he also perceives that the amount of venom in his blader is not much, the toxicity probably isn't that high either. But I believe that as long as the level of this skill is raised in the future, the amount and toxicity of venom will certainly be improved. After selecting the skill, Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief and then looked at the change in his various attributes on his property panel. Chapter 4. Tree Lizard. Host Property List. Level, 3. Bioenergy, 0/30. Skill Points, 0. Body Length, 35 cm. Diameter, 1.2 cm. Strength, 0.2. Defense, 0.1. Speed, 0.4. Agility, 0.7. Spirit, 1.5. Physical Strength, 1.0. Skills, Fatal Venom, 1/5. Reputation Value, 0/100000000. Sure enough, compared with before, his physical attributes have a comprehensive improvement. Fang Yun's most concerned body length and diameter have a particularly obvious improvement. His body length has changed from 20 cm to 35 cm, almost doubling. Furthermore, his diameter also reached 1.2 cm, and now swallowing those 2 or 3 cm prey should be no problem. As soon as he thought of prey, Fang Yun felt that he was hungry. In the last evolution, he discovered that after he evolves, his body's energy will be consumed, like 4 or 5 days without eating. Now that his body strength has more than doubled, he wants to find prey to try his power and new skills. However, this thought just appeared and was annihilated by him. Low-key development, don't take risks. In such a crisis-ridden jungle, being low-key is the key to live longer. Trying my strength and skills can wait until tomorrow. Now is night, where danger is everywhere, should conserve my strength and energy and go hunting tomorrow. Thinking of this, he closed his eyes and slowly fell into a dream. When Fang Yun opened his eyes again, the cave had become brighter, and the hunger sent from his stomach is much stronger than last night. He lazily got up, twisting his lower body, feeling that his body was a little stiff and particularly slow to crawl. Snakes are cold-blooded animals. If the outside temperature is too low, their blood circulation will become slow, causing the reaction of their body to their nerves will become dull. So every morning, Fang Yun will sneak out to bask in the sun, let his body temperature rise, and let his body function return to a normal level as soon as possible. Swinging his head, Fang Yun crawled out of the cave. He felt that the blood in his body was getting colder and colder, with the addition of hunger sent from his stomach, almost driving him crazy. I must be one of the most miserable people that crossed over to new worlds. Fang Yun thought tearfully. He must let his body temperature rise as soon as possible. Climbing out of the nest, the warm sunlight sprinkled on his body, Fang Yun felt a burst of refreshment, almost letting out a moan. He did not go to the places more exposed to sunlight, such as the stone pile. He just stayed at the entrance to the hole, so that if he felt that danger was close, he could get into the nest for the first time. Basking in the sun, Fang Yun felt that his body temperature began to slowly rise, and his stiff body began to become flexible over time. While basking in the sun, he did not let his guard down. Flicking his tongue from time to time in the air to detect the presence of possible prey or predators. His small round eyes are also looking around. On a tree in his right side, an unknown bird in a tree is combing his feathers, looks like a fat, juicy meal. But now he does not have the ability to kill the bird, so he can only look at that bird while drooling. On his left side, a palm-sized spider is squatting in the center of its own webs, waiting for the arrival of prey. Not far from his nest, a few fertile grass buds drilled out of the ground, attracting several locusts looking for food. Fang Yun regained his gaze from there and changed his position, continuing to lie down. Time passed by, and about 5 minutes later, the bird that was combing his hair flew away. At this time, Fang Yun's body temperature increased a lot, the blood flow rate returned to normal, and the body returned to being flexible again. In addition, the temperature in the jungle began to rise, and Fang Yun did not intend to continue to sunbathe here. It's time to pray. Fang Yun lifted his head and then prepared to crawl toward the bushes, but at this time, he heard a rustle in there and looked at the front with vigilance. I saw that at this time, in the bushes 3 meters away from him, a cluster of grass was slightly disturbed, followed by a lizard about 25 centimeters long slowly crawling out, then staring straight at him. Target locked. Tree lizard, reptile, squamata, can provide 10 points of bioenergy. The sound of the system sounded in his mind, but Fang Yun didn't pay attention to it this time. His attention has been completely attracted by this lizard. This guy actually came here. Fang Yun raised his head and raised his guard. This is not the first time he met the tree lizard in front of him. When he went out to hunt 3 days ago, he saw it under a big tree 300 meters away, and passed by him. Because the guy had a small wound on his left lip, Fang Yun immediately recognized his identity after he saw him. Lizards are omnivorous animals. They may also prey on small snakes when they meet them. Plus this tree lizard is an adult, and he has just evolved, plus he is extremely hungry. His power is definitely not as good as this tree lizard. Therefore, when he saw the other party, he turned away and slipped quietly. Just he did not think that he would actually meet this tree lizard here. Hey! Hey! Tree lizard flicked his scarlet tongue, and slowly approached Fang Yun's side. Seeing it like this, Fang Yun could not help but think. Does it want to prey on me? A thought emerged from his mind, which made him shocked, and the body involuntarily crawled backward. No, it seems that it wants to grab my nest. Fang Yun's thought. The lizard hissed at him, and the color of his body became brighter, but he never attacked him. It looks like it's trying to be intimidating. Thinking of this, Fang Yun acted and immediately hissed back at the lizard. If the lizard really intended to snatch his nest, he does not intend to back down. Here is his territory. If it's occupied by this lizard, he will become a homeless snake. In such a crisis-ridden jungle, if there is no hiding place. God knows when he was sleeping in some corner, he was eaten by some carnivore as a snack. Hey! Fang Yun raised his head a little. His power and agility may not match this lizard, but don't forget, last night, he had activated his first skill. Fatal Venom. Perhaps, I can try the power of Fatal Venom on this lizard. Thinking of this, Fang Yun's gaze looking at the lizard has also become aggressive. Perhaps this is a chance sent to the door. Moreover, this tree lizard can provide him with 10 bioenergy. I don't know if my venom can poison this tree lizard. In the mind of Fang Yun, such a question emerged, and at this time, he began to actively crawl towards the opposite lizard. The lizard, apparently, did not seem to expect Fang Yun to act in this way. He stayed in the same place for a while, but his throat became more bulging and seemed to hesitate whether it was retreating or attacking. At this time, the distance between them is almost half a meter. Fang Yun feels that this distance is enough for him to launch an offensive. It's now. Suddenly, Fang Yun's decided it's enough, and the muscles of his body tightened to the extreme. He was ready to attack the tree lizard on the opposite side. However, it is at this time. Hey! A rush of empty air rang. At the same time, from the corner of his eye, there is a black shadow like a meteorite falling toward the ground. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun ran towards his nest. Chapter 4 Natural Enemies. Fang Yun escaped into his nest, then turned his head and looked out of the entrance. The shadow fell into the opposite grass. At the same time, a dull bang sounded. This bang, like a hammer, hammered in the heart of Fang Yun, making his body soft. His body is literally shivering in fear at this time. What is that? Fang Yun's heart thumps like crazy, while his eyes stared straight at the opposite side of the grass that had been pulled out of a large hole. Suddenly, a big black bird stood up from the grass. That is, eagle? Fang Yun's heart skipped a beat, becoming shocked as he stared at the eagle. At the moment, opposite to him, a big bird is standing. Its feathers are dark brown, its body is long, and its height is almost reaching a meter. The bird's beak is like an iron hook, and its eyes are extremely sharp. Obviously, this is an eagle. Originally, he was grateful that there were no strong carnivores in this area, and even his own kind was rarely seen, but now it seems that his initial thoughts are very wrong. This area has its own owner, that is the eagle opposite. Eagle, a raptor, is a complete carnivore. It only eats meat. Its usual menu consists of catching mice, snakes, hares or birds. Big ones can even prey on goats, sheep, and deers. Of course, the eagle in front of him is not strong enough to capture animals of the level of sheep and deers. But nonetheless, for Fang Yun, this eagle is extremely deadly. At the thought of having such a raptor on his side, Fang Yun shuddered. Maybe on a certain day, would he be the prey of this eagle like that hare? This is very likely. Even more likely that when he was sunbathing at the entrance of his nest, the eagle might have found himself. The eagle's vision is particularly good. You can find small animals on the ground at an altitude of up to a kilometer. The reason why he did not become the prey of this eagle was that his position was close to his nest, and his size is much smaller than that of the hare. However, Fang Yun needs to go out to hunt. If he is found by him in an open place, it is estimated that the latter will not mind treating him as a dessert. Whoosh! At this time, the eagle in the opposite grass waved its wings, the weeds around it swayed. At the same time, the eagle flew out of the grass with some difficulty. Under his iron claws, a gray fat rabbit hangs softly, dropping thick drops of blood. Seeing this scene, Fang Yun's heart became heavier, and he had a feeling of sadness and depression. In the beginning, upon becoming a snake, Fang Yun has always said to himself that as a snake, he has surely a lot of natural enemies. But when he really saw his natural enemy, all the psychological defenses and preparation that had been done before has collapsed, and the fear and despair couldn't stop flooding his heart. Sure enough, it's still good being a human. Fang Yun couldn't help but smile wryly. When he was a human being, he didn't feel anything. He even thought that the days of going to school every day were too boring, and he thought that if he could become an animal, such as a bird or the like, it would be great to live freely. But now that I have become an animal, I don't feel any sense of freedom, all there is only the pressure of survival. I really hope to grow up as soon as possible. Fang Yun also thought, if he really grows up and become the top of the food chain, there would be no need to worry about his life every day. Thinking about it, when I have a body size of 10 meters or even dozens of meters, in nature, which animal would dare to provoke me? At that time, it would already be good not to bully others. Hey! However, at this time, a screeching sound interrupted Fang Yun's thoughts. After he paused, he slowly climbed out of the nest and immediately looked at the direction the scream was coming from. Looking, he couldn't help but be amazed. I saw a lizard stuck in the crack of the stone on his left side, struggling to get out. And this lizard, isn't it the tree lizard that wanted to snatch his own territory? Seeing this funny scene, Fang Yun couldn't help but want to laugh, even the heavy feeling that the eagle brought to him was diluted a lot. This idiot is estimated to have climbed over the rock pile when he fled before, and accidentally fell in the rock crack. Looking at the constantly struggling tree lizard, Fang Yun spit out his tongue and then crawled over to him. This guy actually dared to grab his sight. Of course, he could not let him go, let alone that this tree lizard would provide himself with 10 bioenergy. I originally planned to use this tree lizard to try the power of my venom, but now it seems that it is not necessary anymore. At the moment, it is stuck in the crack of the stone, completely incapable of action, struggling to free himself. With the approach of Fang Yun, the tree lizard struggled even more, but its lower half was stuck in the cracks of the stone. It's no easy task to get out of there. Hey! At this time, it made a burst of sharper humming, and the color of the color scale became more and more vivid. It seems that at this time, I still want to scare Fang Yun. Fang Yun did not pay attention to it. When he came to the tree lizard, he bit his neck, and then the body was coiled around the lizard. The muscles in his body began to contract, trying his best to crush the tree lizard and pulling him out of the cracks. After 2 or 3 tries, the tree lizard was pulled out. The abdomen of the lizard was wounded heavily. After struggling for a moment the lizard stopped moving. This made Fang Yun somewhat surprised. He originally wanted to try his own coiling technique, but tree lizard has quickly died. But now that this lizard has dead, it saved him a lot of effort. Fang Yun starts from the head and swallows the entire lizard. His body has gradually swelled, making hard to crawl. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun hurried to his nest and drilled in it. Fortunately, the nest is next to him. If he ate it outside, it will be difficult to come back. Back in the nest, Fang Yun immediately lied down and waited for the digestion of the tree lizard in his stomach. After eating this tree lizard, he can no longer hunt again today. Chapter 6 Rainstorm is coming. After swallowing the tree lizard, Fang Yun laid quietly in his nest and rested. This time, after almost 2 hours, he digested the tree lizard in his stomach and got 10 bioenergy points. On this day, he did not go hunting again. He needs a little time to digest the influence that the eagle brought to him. He didn't know if the eagle had accidentally passed by here today, or intends to stay here for a long time. If it is the latter, he needs to be more careful when he goes out to hunt. Eagles are very difficult to guard against. They usually fly at an altitude of up to 1 kilometer. It is impossible to notice them, and once it is discovered by the other party, the eagle will swoop down from that height and use the impact force to insert their claws into the body of their prey. With his own small body, Fang Yun does not feel that he is able to withstand the claws of this eagle. Originally, he still felt that he has grown to more than 30 centimeters. It should be time for him to show his talents. But now, it seems that he has to continue to act low-key. Underneath a eucalyptus tree that could be held by one person, Fang Yun looked up and watched the surrounding movements. The area where he is currently located has very dense bushes and can easily cover him up. The generous canopy blocks the sky, so you can avoid attacks from the sky. 3 days have passed since the day when he encountered the eagle. During these 3 days, Fang Yun still went out to hunt as usual, but he was more vigilant than before, and every time he went out to hunt, he went to places with a dense canopy. In short, resolutely do not go to the open grass. As a result, his predation efficiency has been greatly reduced. After all, there are many insects such as crickets and grasshoppers in those grasslands. In the past, these insects provided him with quite a bit of biological energy. Fortunately, his body size is larger than before, and he can prey on small animals such as adult black-spotted frogs. In this area, the number of black-spotted frogs is not small. In 3 days, he captured 5 young frogs and 2 adult frogs, giving him a total of 9 bioenergy. In addition, he also captured a small gecko of about 5 centimeters that provided him with 3 bioenergy. Plus the tree lizard that was eaten 3 days ago, Fang Yun's accumulated bioenergy has reached 22 points. System, bring up my properties panel. Fang Yun whispered, and at the moment when his voice sounded, there was a light curtain in his mind. Host property list. Rating, 3. Bioenergy, 22/30. Points, 0. Body length, 35 centimeters. Diameter, 1.2 centimeters. Strength, 0.2. Defense, 0.1. Speed, 0.4. Agility, 0.7. Spirit, 1.5. Physical strength, 1.0. Skills, Deadly Venom, January 5th. Reputation value, 0/100000000. Looking at the column of bioenergy in the attribute list, Fang Yun's mouth was uplifted. In 3 days, he harvested a total of 22 bioenergy, and now he can upgrade again with only 8 points of bio. This speed is not unpleasant. Although because of the eagle, he did not dare to go to the open grass to prey on insects, but only by hunting those small animals, his biological energy accumulated rather quickly. Of course, if he has preyed on insects in those grasses as before, perhaps he has now reached the conditions for upgrading. Insects provide less bioenergy, but they are more numerous and easier to prey on. During these 3 days, the eagle appeared twice again, and Fang Yun also saw it hunting once, and this time Fang Yun saw it grabbing a snake more than 1 meter long from the ground. Fang Yun didn't see the type of snake clearly, but when he saw his own kind became food on the eagle's mouth, the threat level of that eagle raised a lot in his mind. Not to mention that he became more determined to not hunt in open areas. As for why the eagle did not appear previously, it may be because its hunting range is too large. Perhaps in the past, this eagle was hunting in other areas, but as the prey there reduced, he changed spots and came here to hunt. Converging his thoughts, Fang Yun passed through the layers of leaves and then looked at the sky. At this time, the sun was already setting, it's already late afternoon. This can't be helped, according to Fang Yun's observation, this eagle hunts in the mornings. In order to be as safe as possible, he compressed the hunting time to the afternoon. Thinking of this, Fang Yun ground his teeth, secretly hating the eagle. When he grew up, he must find a way to swallow that goddamn eagle. Taking a deep breath, Fang Yun twisted his body unnaturally. He felt that the air today was a little moist, giving him a heavy of sulking. Is it going to rain? A glimmer of light flashed in his mind. Fang Yun was stunned. It's no wonder that today's humming sounds in the woods have become noisier. And he also found that there were still a lot of insects flying in the air, and several crickets hovered in the air above his head. He has been in this world for more than 10 days, and it's not the first time it rained. It's normal to rain in the forest. However, what he is worried about is that the heavy rain continues for several days. In that kind of weather, it is obvious that the difficulty of hunting will increase. I should hurry up and try to hunt on as much prey as possible today. With such an idea in mind, Fang Yun crawled straight ahead. Probably because of the upcoming rain, there are also a lot of frogs in the trees. They are also preying on insects. Frogs have a particularly quick response speed. As long as insects enter the range of their attack, they rarely escape. Along the way, Fang Yun saw several black-spotted frogs and golden-lined frogs, but he could not catch them. They all escaped from under his eyelids. In addition, he also saw a tiger frog, which is more than 10 centimeters in size. This frog is estimated to be half a pound. I don't know what taste does this tiger frog have. He has eaten several small frogs like the black-spotted frog, but he has never eaten a large frog, like the tiger frog. This kind of frog is too powerful, plus the speed of jumping is extremely fast. It's not an easy prey. At this time, a black-spotted frog jumped right in front of him. This black-spotted frog did not find the existence of Fang Yun and actually took the initiative to jump straight in front of him. Fang Yun certainly will not let go of this opportunity, bit the black-spotted frog directly, and then swallowed it into his belly. Chapter 7 Wild Card. Once he swallowed this black-spotted frog, Fang Yun couldn't help showing a satisfied look. This black-spotted frog has matured up and can provide him with 2 bioenergy points. Only 10 minutes after coming out and there is such a harvest, which is a good sign. In this way, maybe he can capture enough prey to start his 3rd evolution today. Great, hope that I can get 3 more adult frogs today. Fang Yun thought excitedly, while his body continued to wander around the trees. His eyes were sweeping around, looking for small animals that he can prey on. Maybe his luck has come to an end because along the way, he saw several frogs again, but they all jumped past him. He didn't even have a chance to try to hunt them. Besides, he also met a small gecko. But similarly, the little gecko ran away after seeing him. In addition, Fang Yun also saw a few flies and other small insects, swaying slowly in front of him, but as they can't bring him any bioenergy points, he didn't even bother to try, simply letting them go. After more than half an hour, Fang Yun still hasn't found anything, but he was not in a hurry. After becoming a snake, his temperament changed, becoming colder and calculating in contrast to his cheerful self when he was still a human. Finally, after searching for more than an hour, he found a frog near a clear stream. Target locked, green frog, amphibious, can provide 2 bioenergy. When he saw the frog in front of him, Fang Yun couldn't help getting excited, but then he pressed his excitement, making sure to muffle his movement so that he doesn't disturb the frog. This frog has matured, with a length of 4 or 5 centimeters. At this moment, it's quietly crouching on a piece of green moss, blending with the environment. Without looking closely, it's easy to ignore its existence. Even Fang Yun used infrared view before perceiving its position. Fang Yun slowly squirmed, crawling straight toward the frog, because the frog was facing the opposite direction, plus Fang Yun is moving very slowly, so for a while, that frog did not find his existence. After almost a minute slow crawling, Fang Yun was only 20 centimeters away from the frog. This position is the best place for him to launch an attack. Hey! Fang Yun's muscles contracted, then shot like a sharp arrow. His mouth was gaping wide, biting the frog in one bite. Only then did frog react and began to struggle fiercely. But at this moment its body has already been hooked by the sharp teeth of Fang Yun, and it is impossible to break free. The pain in its body, plus the panic that it's being preyed on, caused it to make a sharp humming sound. Fang Yun was unmoved, his 2 rows of teeth were hooked tightly to the frog. Gradually, the resistance of the frog was getting smaller and smaller, and finally, its vitality dissipated. Making sure the frog heart stopped beating, Fang Yun began to slowly devour the frog into his stomach. After a while, Fang Yun swallowed the frog completely into his stomach. Fang Yun's stomach swelled up. He moved his body slightly and seemed to reminisce the taste of that frog. "I have really changed," lamented Fang Yun. "When I was a human, I couldn't even imagine eating raw food, let alone a dead frog," thought Fang Yun. "Maybe becoming a snake has really changed my thoughts." Taking a deep breath, Fang Yun threw these thoughts to the back of his head. "What I should think about is how to upgrade, becoming powerful enough, then thinking about how to gain enough reputation value, before I die," thought Fang Yun. "Let's make a small goal, becoming an apex predator, so as to not fear any animal on this planet," thought Fang Yun. Another successful hunt made him greatly encouraged. He is more confident that he can capture enough prey to upgrade today. However, he did not stay too much in this place, and immediately dragged his bloated body and continued to crawl. In the next period of time, Fang Yun was like receiving God help, swallowed 2 earthworms, 2 black-spotted frogs, plus the green frog. That means that he already got 7 bioenergy points. It is worth mentioning that the mature green frog and the 2 black-spotted frogs that he had swallowed have already been digested, successfully acquiring 4 bioenergy points. In addition, after all the frogs were digested, his belly became flat, meaning that he can eat a few more preys. Fang Yun glanced at the sky. "'Tis already late afternoon, it will become dark in a few hours." He had enough time to hunt a few more preys. "Well? There seems to be a golden frog over there." Fang Yun's eyes shined brightly. Right in front of him, there was a frog lying not far from the bushes, his belly bulging, and he seemed to be preying on insects. "Huh, this golden frog is also an adult. As long as I swallow this frog, I will have enough points to upgrade." Fang Yun became happy, a smile creeping on his face, then began to slowly crawl towards the frog. There is some distance between him and the golden frog, but it doesn't matter, he has the patience to slowly crawl, and the closer he gets, the slower and quieter he gets. Tchh. However, at this time, a black shadow rushed from the right bushes, slamming the golden frog straight to the ground, and then looking over to Fang Yun. Fang Yun, who was crawling over to the golden frog, was shocked and quickly looked at the black shadow that was facing him. Boom! However, when he saw the true appearance of the black shadow on the opposite side, his body trembled fiercely, his instincts are telling him to run. And a sense of fear rose from his heart. Wildcat. The shadow that appeared in front of him is a wild cat. Wild cats, which feed on rodents, insects, small amphibians, and birds, count as one of the natural enemies of snakes. Looking at the opposite wild cat who is looking at himself, Fang Yun had the urge to swear. He was always careful, but he still encountered such trouble. Ring, target lock, wild cat, feline, carnivorous, can provide 150 bioenergy points. System your uncle. When he heard the sound of the system in his mind, Fang Yun couldn't help but swear in his mind, "What shit, can provide 150 bioenergy points. I should thank God if I wasn't eaten by it." The opposite wild cat is a little bigger than a normal adult cat. It is about 40 centimeters in length, but its eyes are much sharper than a domestic cat. At this moment, the wild cat caught the golden frog and is biting its head, but his eyes are staring straight at Fang Yun. Damn, this beast is really treating me as prey. Fang Yun frowned. From the eyes of this wild cat, he read a dangerous message. What to do? What to do? Fang Yun's brain is running fast. Although the situation is extremely critical at this moment, he did not panic, but he thought clearly and looked for countermeasures. I have poisonous fangs. However, the wild cat has great agility and the ghost knew if he could bite it. And even if I bite the other party, when would the venom act? If I was killed by the wildcat and was in the process of being eaten. Only then does venom works. Then it won't make any sense whether the poison worked or not. So, I can't confront it positively. While Fang Yun was thinking of countermeasures, the wild cat opposite him moved. Chapter 8. Accident. Meow. The wild cat opposite sprinted, followed by a high jump, attacking Fang Yun with his sharp claws. Damn, don't think I'm easy prey. Seeing that the wild cat launched an attack, Fang Yun couldn't help swearing, he can't beat it, neither he can run, he can only fight, seeking a chance to escape or even counterattack during the battle. Although the wild cat is a huge threat for him, it's not like he doesn't have any chance to win. After all, in this snake body, there is the soul of a person, his IQ can slam this wild cat several streets. And he also has his own attack weapon, poison. Of course, I can't collide head-on with this wildcat. To take it out I have to attack its weak points, such as its eyes and nose. While thinking about countermeasures in his mind, his body didn't halt, twisting his body, dodging the wildcat claws that were coming straight towards his head. Immediately, he jerked his head up, his muscles tightened, rushing straight towards the eyes of the wildcat. At the same time, sharp fangs drilled out of his mouth, his venom ready to make this cat regret even thinking about attacking him. Suddenly, Fang Yun's pupils suddenly shrank, because, from his point of view, he could see the whole body of this wild cat. On the hind legs of this wild cat, there was a shocking scar, probably scratched by some type of claws. Just thinking for a moment, the image of the eagle appeared in Fang Yun's mind. Ha ha ha, God is really helping me. Fang Yun couldn't help but feel happy. It's no wonder that the actions of this wild cat seemed a bit cumbersome. It turned out to be hurt, and it looks like the injury is not light. Meow. The wild cat did not seem to expect Fang Yun to actively attack him, scaring him to jump back. At the same time, in midair, he slammed down his hind legs towards Fang Yun. Bang! Fang Yun's head was slammed, falling headfirst to the ground. Fang Yun flinched in pain. Motherf **** cur as expected of a feline, this agility is not blowing. However, such thoughts flashed in his mind instantly. Fang Yun did not hesitate in the slightest, resisting the pain in his body, he contracted his muscles again, ejecting like an arrow, flying straight towards the wild cat. At the same time, he directed the fangs in his mouth, straight at the wild cat's eyes, directly spraying 2 venom streams. Hiss! 2 venom streams emerged from the fangs of Fang Yun, rushing straight towards the wildcat eyes like 2 water arrows. Meow! The wildcat had just landed. After seeing this scene, he jumped again trying to dodge the venom stream. Just as he seemed like he was going to succeed, suddenly, his hind legs tingled, causing his jump to be not as high as he expected. This caused the venom to be shot directly into his left eye. Meow! The wildcat sent a big screech. After landing, he directly twisted his body and fled to the distance. Fang Yun noticed big drops of blood falling from the cat leg. The wound on the hind leg of this wild cat was torn open, causing a lot of blood to flow out of its wound. The left eye of this wild cat was blinded by my venom, and with its hind leg wound splitting, I am afraid that it could not be saved, its future survival will become extremely difficult. However, this thought just flashed through Fang Yun's mind and he threw it aside. If he didn't use the venom to blind the wild cat eyes. At this moment, it's very likely that he has already become food in this wild cat mouth. The law in the jungle is like this: you live, I die. The mood of Fang Yun slowly calmed, returning to normal. The previous high-intensity activities caused a sense of pain in his muscles and a headache because of overclocking his brain. It's worth mentioning that his belly is empty, he has already digested the previous prey. Let's find a place to recover, thought Fang Yun. Without any further hesitation, he rushed out to the bushes, searching for a place he can rest in and recover. After almost half an hour of search, while crawling under a big tree, his eyes suddenly brightened. Because at the moment, under the thick tree roots in front of him, there is actually a tree hole. Well, I don't know if there is a master in this tree hole. Is it a snake hole or a rat hole? Fang Yun flicked his tongue, trying to find if this hole has a master. After a moment, his eyes lit up. There was indeed a strange smell in this tree hole, but it was not from his kind. But mice. More importantly, he found more than one smell coming from this tree hole. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun drilled into this tree hole. This tree hole is much narrower than his ant nest, plus a lot of twists and turns. Occasionally there is a tree root from the top of the hole narrowing this narrow hole even more. After a while, Fang Yun finally reached the deepest part of the tree hole. Skeek! From the opposite side, a sharp scream sounded. There is no light here, but Fang Yun's thermal imaging organ clearly saw the opposite situation. Four thumb-sized creatures are squeezing together, trembling, sending a tweet from time to time. Target locked, young rats, mammal creature, rodent family, each providing 2 bioenergy points. Hearing the sound of the system, Fang Yun acted with no hesitation. He crawled straight toward the 4 young rats. Seeming to feel the danger nearing, the 4 young rats made a scream of uneasiness. Soon, Fang Yun came to the 4 young rats. Ignoring their pitiful crying sounds, he swallowed them one by one. Immediately, his empty stomach bulged again, and a feeling of fullness rose, giving Fang Yun a very pleasant feeling. Fang Yun twisted his body, feeling strong excitement. I didn't expect that. I just wanted to find a place to rest. As a result, I got 8 bioenergy points, thought Fang Yun gleefully. Previously he already got 7 bioenergy points, and the next evolution needed just 1 more point. Now that I swallowed 4 young rats, when they are digested later, I can get 8 bioenergy points, which more than meets the requirement to evolve. Thinking of this, Fang Yun quietly lies in this tree hole, waiting for the digestion of the young rats in his stomach. After about 2 hours, the 4 young rats in his stomach were completely digested. Not even a second later, the mechanical sound of the system sounded in Fang Yun's mind. Ring, the host successfully got 8 bioenergy points. Get enough bioenergy and the host evolutionary conditions are reached. This evolution will take 10 minutes, asking the host to ensure the safety of the surrounding environment. Do you want to undergo this evolution? Hearing the sound of the system, a smile couldn't help but creep on Fang Yun's mouth, and immediately said in his mind, Evolve. Chapter 9. Third Evolution. Evolve. Fang Yun said in his mind. At the same time, he converges his mood and waits quietly. After a moment of silence, a warm stream grows in his body. But then, as before, his body gradually getting hotter and hotter, subconsciously wriggling with restlessness, suffering from great pain. But what makes Fang Yun somewhat amazed is that his pain tolerance seems to have improved a lot, even if he feels that his body is burning, that being extremely painful, but his mind doesn't seem to be on the verge of collapse like last time he evolved. Now that I think about it, I probably understand. This should be the result of the improvement of my mental strength. After 10 minutes of suffering, the burning sensation slowly faded. Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief, feeling that his body is a lot better. Twisting his lower body, feeling the growing body strength, he couldn't help but be excited. With enough power, he can also try to develop the main characteristic of a python. Python constriction. Before swallowing his prey, pythons will wrap around the prey first, squeezing it, causing it to suffocate and then slowly swallow it. Of course, if the python's power is large enough and their constriction skills are good enough, the bones of the prey can be broken, thereby breaking their internal organs and killing them in a short time. Although he has fangs, the amount of venom in his gland is limited. If he encounters more than one opponent at the same time, he can use constriction to deal with them. In addition, although this deadly constriction is inherited by pythons, it also requires frequent practice to improve its proficiency. When I saw the animal world in my past life, I also saw many times when pythons were wrapping around the prey, but because of the wrapping technique wasn't good enough, the result was that the prey slipped away. Thought Fang Yun. After thinking for a while, Fang Yun stopped thinking about that and then called the system in his mind, causing a light curtain to appear in his mind. But at the moment when the light curtain appeared, 2 notifications immediately popped up. Ring, the host's 3rd evolution was successful, the level was upgraded to level 4, rewarding 3 skill points. Ring, detected that there are 3 skill points available. Currently, there are 2 skills available for upgrading. Is it viewed? When I saw these 2 notifications, Fang Yun couldn't help showing a smile. He values his size extremely, but he also values his skills. View available skills. Fang Yun said softly in his mind. The light curtain in his mind was refreshed and replaced with another message. The current skill points can be used to practice the following 2 skills. Discoloration camouflage, active skills. Choosing this skill, the body skin color will change into a color similar to the surrounding environment according to the instructions of the host. Each upgrade consumes 3 points, current level, 0/5. Fatal venom, active skills. Choosing this skill, you will grow to a fang tooth, with which you can use venom to kill your opponent. The attack power will improve. Each upgrade consumes 3 points, current level, 1/5. Looking at the text on the light curtain, Fang Yun became speechless. He thought that there will be new skills. The result is that all there is these 2 skills. Now that I think about it, these 2 skills should be the basic skills. If I want to activate more advanced skills, I have to accumulate more points. However, after thinking about it, Fang Yun doesn't intend to leave these 3 skill points but use it directly. Only when he is still alive, skill points are useful. He needs to improve his combat power now, so he did not hesitate to spend the 3 points on the Fatal Venom skill he had activated before. The Fatal Venom skill level has been successfully upgraded. Rating, 2 out of 5 inch. After the mechanical sound of the system sounded, Fang Yun immediately felt a tingling sensation in his fangs and venom gland, causing his venom gland to become bigger, and the venom that was consumed before was replenished. In addition, his fangs have become longer, stronger and sharper. I don't know where my current venom toxicity can be ranked compared to other venomous snakes. Fang Yun thought. This world is a kind of Earth-like planet, probably a parallel universe, and the species are roughly the same as the species on Earth. On Earth, the most poisonous snake is the inland taipan from Australia, followed by other venomous snakes including black mambas and cobras. In addition, some subspecies of sea snakes are also highly venomous, even more so than their terrestrial counterpart. For example, the faint-banded sea snake is not only the most venomous sea snake but also the most venomous snake in the world, a 100-time more venomous than any other snake including the inland taipan. According to Fang Yun's guess, after he upgraded the Fatal Venom skill to full level, his toxicity is estimated to be similar to the most poisonous snake in the world, perhaps even higher. Of course, this is only Fang Yun's guess. What would be the specific situation? That needs him to slowly explore later. Gently shaking his head, Fang Yun put away the distracting thoughts in his mind, and then said, "System, call up my property panel." After his voice fell, a light curtain appeared in his mind. Host property list. Level 4. Bioenergy, July 90. Skill points, 0. Body length, 60 centimeters. Diameter, 2 centimeters. Power, 1.0. Defense, 0.5. Speed, 1.2. Agile, 1.5. Spirit, 2.5. Physical strength, 2.0. Skills, deadly venom, February 5th. Reputation value, 0/100000000. Seeing that the information in the panel refreshed again, Fang Yun's mood was uplifted. This time his body length increased directly from 35 centimeters to 60 centimeters, increasing his total length by 25 centimeters. And the diameter has increased from 1.2 centimeters to 2 centimeters. In general, he can already be considered a half-mature snake. Even those adult mice, he can also swallow. The mouth snakes can be enlarged to about 130 degrees, and it is not a problem to swallow a prey 2 or 3 times their diameter. Thinking of this, Fang Yun couldn't help but cheer up, but when he saw the other property bar's information, he had the urge to swear. What? The next evolution will actually require 90 bioenergy points. Fang Yun was a bit speechless. The last evolution required him only 30 bioenergy, but this time if he wants to upgrade, he would need 90 bioenergy points. However, for this situation, he can only accept it honestly. I don't know when will my reputation point increase? Fang Yun's gaze suddenly moved to the column of reputation. He came to this world for more than 10 days, and his reputation value didn't increase. After all, no one would easily go to the wild, especially this jungle full of wild animals and poisonous insects. As for leaving the forest, and going to the human city, Fang Yun didn't want to die. Most people are afraid of loft snakes. If they saw him, the biggest possibility is probably killing him. Without mentioning that he would probably be treated as a snack if he were to go to some provinces in China. Fang Yun sighed. Wanting to complete this task is not possible in the foreseeable future. At least until his defense can reach the bulletproof level, only then would he try. Shaking his head, he crawled towards the entrance, preparing to leave the tree hole. After this evolution, he is extremely hungry. He is ready to go out and catch a few more preys. After some crawling, he came back to the surface. At this moment, the sky is already dark, but the jungle is still very lively. All kinds of insects are coming and going. Fang Yun's snake tongue flicked in the air to check whether there was any prey around. But at this moment, his body tightened, because, right in front of him, there is a shadow. Chapter 10. Forest Fire. Fang Yun looked over to the opposite side. He saw that across from him, there is a big mouse coming over, about 5 inches or 12 centimeters. At this moment, Fang Yun and the big mouse looked at each other. Target locked, voles, mammal, rodent family, can provide 15 bioenergy. Looking at the vole opposite, Fang Yun's eyes flashed, and it was obvious that this vole is the mother of the previous 4 young rats. I didn't expect to encounter the mother of the young rats just as I climbed out of the hole. Squeak! The opposite vole, like finding something, screamed hysterically. At this time, a pair of round eyes suddenly sharpened, looking at Fang Yun aggressively, hatred seeping out of its eyes. In the face of this vole mother hateful eyes, Fang Yun couldn't afford any guilt. The jungle rules are like that, to eat or be eaten. Instead, he flicked his tongue, slowly crawling towards the vole mother. Normally after the mouse decides to run, snake usually can't catch up. But if this vole wants to avenge her children, choosing to fight with him, then Fang Yun doesn't mind letting her reuniting with her children, in his stomach. Squeak! Seeing that Fang Yun was approaching, the vole mother screamed wildly, her body trembling. The fear of snakes from her genes made her have an impulse to escape immediately. But the hatred of the murderer of her child let her stop in her track, cannot wait to fight to the death with Fang Yun. Fang Yun was getting closer and closer to the mouse. Judging that the distance between them was only about half a meter. Suddenly, his body muscles tightened. The next moment, his body launched like an arrow, biting towards the vole mother neck. When Fang Yun launched the attack, the vole bounced on reflex, escaping his attack, and then landing on the side. Humph! Fang Yun snorted in his mind, did not hesitate, immediately launched a second attack, this time directly biting the vole's neck. Squeak! The vole mother screamed hysterically in pain, but Fang Yun was unmoved, his body trying to wrap around the vole mother. He is going to practice constriction on this vole mother. Hey! The fear and hatred in the mother's heart broke out at this moment, her body madly struggling. Her hind legs are madly kicking on the ground, trying to break away from Fang Yun entanglement. Under the hysterical struggle of the vole mother, Fang Yun could not completely entangle it. More importantly, he felt that his teeth began to get numb like they are going to be torn off. He couldn't help but get annoyed. This mouse struggle is really fierce. However, even so, he did not loosen his mouth, instead, he bit tighter, his body trying to wrap around the body of the vole. After almost 3 minutes, the mad struggle of the vole reduced. It seems that its physical energy is nearly exhausted. Fang Yun took advantage of this opportunity, completely wrapping his body around the vole, and then began to strangle it. Squeak! The mouse made a harsh scream, resuming his struggle, but it's too late. Fang Yun has completely wrapped around the vole. Its struggle only prompted Fang Yun to contract even more. Gradually, the mouse didn't make any sound anymore. Pythons can perceive the heartbeat of the prey they entangled, so once entangled by a python, it's impossible to act dead or stand still and wait until the python releases himself and then escape. At the moment, under the perception of Fang Yun, the heartbeat of this vole mother became weaker and eventually stopped. Only then did he slowly loosen his body, and then devoured the vole mother from the head bit by bit. His originally empty belly has become full again. After swallowing this vole mother, Fang Yun was not ready to hunt again. He perceived the direction and then began to return to his own nest. 10 minutes later, Fang Yun returned to his nest. Today hunting has been very rewarding. He has undergone his 3rd evolution, his level successfully upgrading to the 4th level, and there are still many additional gains. Now the bioenergy point on his property bar is 7 points. When the vole in the belly is digested, his bioenergy point will increase to 22. If there is such a harvest every day, wouldn't he upgrade quickly? Bang! At this time, suddenly, a loud sound came from outside of his nest so that Fang Yun was slightly surprised. Is this the sound of thunder? Wondered Fang Yun. After the first thunder sounded, thunder began to frequently sound in the sky. In the nest, Fang Yun heard from time to time the sound of several panicked birds coming in from outside. He coiled his body, without thinking much about the sound thunder, staying in the cave feeling an unparalleled sense of security. In addition, he is not afraid of rain. His nest is quite high off ground, and with the stones covering the hole, there won't be much rainwater seeping in his nest, so at this time, he curled peacefully in his nest and slept. Without knowing how long he slept, Fang Yun suddenly woke up. His nest was suddenly filled with a strange smell, which smelled like the smell of smoke. His confused head immediately cleared up. Fang Yun's body flashed. The next moment he flew directly to the entrance, and then looked around, seeing that in the left direction, a raging fire was particularly eye-catching. Hey! Despite the long distance, Fang Yun heard the sound of crackling. The smell of smoke that he previously smelled from his nest came from there. Forest fire? Fang Yun's mind immediately came up with such a thought. Thinking a little, he understood that the forest fire was likely caused by the previous thunder. Licking his dry lips, Fang Yun's had the urge to swear. That fire is about 500 meters away from him. It will definitely not be long before it will reach him. Even if he were to stay in the nest and manage to escape the flames, he will still be killed by the smoke. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun turned around and ran. Hey! He tried his best to crawl forward. After this fire, the forest here would definitely be ruined. In short, it is basically impossible to return to this site, thought Fang Yun sadly. After all, a bare mountain, certainly not many animals will return. What will he eat? Staying here for so long, Fang Yun is certainly not willing to leave. This ant nest is a unique place to live. The next time he wants to find such a good place, it is basically impossible. More importantly, that was his first home in this world, he is still emotionally attached to it. While Fang Yun was thinking about his future, he also saw many animals running in the jungle. Pheasants, lizards, birds, etc. In addition, he also saw the wild cat that attacked him previously this afternoon. At this time, the wild cat is limping, trying his best to run, struggling to follow the big forces. Fang Yun also saw that his left eye, which was contaminated by his own venom, were already dull. Under the crazy running of all the animals, the wounded animals like the wild cat, and the slow ones were gradually falling behind. Perhaps soon, they will be swallowed up by the flames.